Alright, what's up guys? So it's been about 2 weeks since we got back from our Idaho elk hunt. I got a nice 5x5. There's going to be a video out eventually. I'm working on it. I'm working on a few videos. I've been just it's been busy. All the hunting season's going on and life in general. So I'm going to try to get out some more videos soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to kick out some shorter, quicker videos onto our Facebook page. So make sure to like us on Facebook. And also subscribe to us on YouTube. And yeah, I'm going to get going. I'm going to do a European mount on this 5x5. So I'm going to show you in a time lapse the gruesome process of doing a European mount. A few simple tools that you need, like a scalpel or a skinning knife, something to peel off as much skin and tissue as you can, some forceps or a needle nose. You're going to need that to grab onto stuff and peel it away and so forth. In general, it's a pretty gruesome process, but if you do it yourself, you know, it's awesome just to do it yourself and know that you did it. And you're going to save yourself a lot of money. For a European mount on an elk like this, it's going to cost you pretty close to $200. For a whitetail, probably about $100. You know, their skull's about half the size, so there's half as much work. But I'm going to show you in a time lapse, so it's going to be quick. But yeah, here we go. Elk European mount for my 2015 Idaho elk hunt. You want to peel off as much as you can in layers. Keep it together. You can grab onto it and it's going to peel so much easier. Scalpel like this works nice because they're super sharp. So we're going to get rid of everything. What you're going to have is you're going to have the top part of the skull and the upper jaw and the horns. And that's going to lay flat on the wall. So yeah, this is what you're going to do. You're going to trim off as much as you can. If you can see that, I've removed a 8x8 inch patch there. And you're going to try to remove as much as you can. Then we're going to start scraping away as much flesh as we can, pulling it away, cutting it away. And then you're going to simmer that off in a big pot of boiling, not quite boiling, just below boiling. So you're going to have to simmer it off in a really hot pot of water. And that's, yeah. You're going to remove and you're going to soften and loosen a lot more flesh so you can pull off more. Then you're going to scrape it clean a little bit more. Remove as much as you can again. Throw it back in the pot. We're going to go back and forth and we'll show you a little bit of that once we get to that stage. You have to have a pretty strong stomach for this, I'm not going to lie. It's pretty gruesome. You know, I hit this pretty close to when I got it. It's been 2 weeks, but it's been frozen for the whole time. So I think we left Idaho and it was in the 40s. And we've gotten home now and it's been cold. The last couple days have been around 0, up to 10 above. So yeah, it's been cold. But I mean, if you put this off for too long, it can get really gruesome. You get like a fall bow hunting deer, and you throw that out there, and the flies and maggots and beetles are gonna form all over. And yeah, it's better to get it when the skin is still fresh too. It peels a lot nicer. You let it dry on there, and it's gonna get really difficult to get off. So. There we got a pretty good portion of it all peeled off there. Good 3/4 of it. Now you're getting in around those tight areas. The eye sockets, the ears, the base of the horns. You know, it takes a little more time up in there. It's tedious. This whole project is tedious, but you know, like I said earlier, if you're gonna send it in anywhere and have it done, it's gonna cost you about $200. So, you know, I've already been working on this 20 minutes now. I've got a good 3/4 of it peeled off. Then we're going to remove that lower jaw, clean up as much as this tissue, and then I can throw it in a simmering pot for 20 minutes, walk away, do something else, come back to it, clean it a little bit more. You're probably going to have a couple hours into it, but you think about it, you're getting paid $100 an hour to do it yourself, and you've got the pride to say, hey, I did that European mount, so it's kind of cool. Anybody asks, oh wow, look at that nice European mount. You know, you did it yourself, so you get the joy of that too. here's where that forceps comes into play, or needle nose. You know, a lot of this gets pretty tough to grab when it starts to get a little slimy. So I can lock that on there, and I got something that's not all slimed up, and I can hold on to it a lot better. Getting closer. The more gruesome parts are going to be around your ears and your eyes. You know, skinning on the bare skull is pretty much normal skinning any deer. You know, some people get kind of grossed out by this, but it's really no different than any other part of the deer. You've got meat and skin and hair. Your jaw is going to be hooked up right up in here. It's pinned down up in here, but there's mainly tissue and muscle holding it on the outside. So we got to cut that muscle, and then we can pretty much pop that lower jaw out of there. You do want to be careful not to mar up the skull. You can go too deep and scratch or mar up the outside of the skull that's going to be showing. But here on the inside, you don't have to worry so much. This is going to be facing the wall. So yeah, this is where it comes into play. You want to get as much tissue off as possible so you can have it in the hot water for the least amount of time. And you don't want to boil it too long because that's going to start weakening your bones and cracking stuff, and you're going to lose little nose pieces. So for that nicest look, you want to boil it or simmer it for the least amount of time as possible. We're getting closer. That lower jaw is starting to get a lot looser than it should. Lower jaw, clean up around the base of the skull, clean up some of the stuff around inside the eye sockets, and whatever else we can, and then we're going to do some deep cleaning and then some simmering. Tiny little scalpel is going to come in really handy when you're working up underneath the burrs of the horn. You can't really get in there with anything but a small scalpel, and if you can't quite get it, reach in there with your forceps and try and pull it out of there. But yeah, those the base of the horns kind of grow over the fur, and they kind of form together. So alright guys, we got pretty much all the stuff cleaned off now. We got a little bit of fur around the base of the horns. We got to remove that lower jaw and clean it up a little bit, but we're almost to the simmering stage. And then stuff's going to go a lot quicker. See, the elk pots have been boiling now for quite a while. And we've simmered quite a bit of the meat off. This one looks good, but unfortunately, an elk skull will not fit in a 5-gallon bucket. So, I don't know, I'm going to try to take this and pressure wash the rest of it off and see how that works. But looking good so far. So we've put the skull through a couple different boiling sessions, anywhere from probably 20 to 30 minutes. Every time we're done with one, we pull it out, we scrape off as much as we can, we throw it back in there, and it'll simmer all that skin, flesh, tissue, muscle, all that right off the skull. You should be able to pretty much slide it right off. And here's the 90% finished product, I'm going to call it. We have a little bit of whitening to do left, but otherwise this is done. This is ready for the wall pretty much. I'm going to drill a hole back in this thick spot back here, right here, and then it'll be ready for the wall.
So there it is. The next time you guys have a trophy whitetail, elk, mule deer, you name it, give it a try. Do it yourself. You're going to save yourself a bunch of money, and you're going to have the, it's going to be awesome. You can say you did it yourself. It's hanging on the wall. It's going to be a sweet trophy.
What's up, Outdrags? Well, it's been a couple of months since I've actually touched this elk mount. It's been sitting on my pool table just waiting for me to have a free night so I can do the last step. Last step is to bleach it. And I've talked to a local taxidermist. I've bought kits before to do the bleaching, and they're kind of expensive. Well, he told me just go to a local hair salon or, supply store or something like that. I actually went to Sally's in Grand Forks, and I picked up some powdered lightener, high-strength powdered lightener, and some 40 volume cream developer. You mix them two together. I did about 4.5 ounces each, and that's going to probably not cover all this. I'll probably have to mix up another thing for an elk skull, but I'm going to work through all the cracks with a paintbrush, get everything full, and then I'll cover the whole outside. And as you can see, I've got saran wrap on the countertop. That's not only to keep the counter clean and from getting all over everything, but also at the end, once I've worked everything in there, I'm going to take this saran wrap and I'm going to wrap it tighter on the skull. And that's going to keep everything nice and tight around the skull, and it's not going to be dripping all over. That way, every crack and crevice gets bleach in it, and it's going to turn out nice and white tomorrow. And it's going to be ready to hang on the wall. I've got a nice skull hanger bracket, so you actually don't have to drill any holes like I was talking earlier. I used to drill a hole right here in this thick spot for whitetail, and you could screw it to a plaque and hang it on the wall, or just hang it directly on the wall. Well, these new skull hanger brackets, they're supposed to go directly in the natural holes of a skull. So that's going to be kind of neat. Once I get this done and hang it on the wall, you can hang it in multiple positions. So stay tuned. Tomorrow afternoon probably, it'll sit on here for 12 hours, maybe a little longer. I'll take all this off and we'll wash all the bleach off, and we'll see how white this is. You're just going to want to work through all those cracks, and try to get everything covered in this bleach. Make it nice and bright white. It's going to make those horns that are just nice and chocolatey brown stand out even stronger, and that's your centerpiece of the horns. And with that saran wrap down there, you don't have to be so worried about getting stuff and dripping all over, because once you wrap that back around your skull, it's just going to stick there, and any globs are going to be stuck on your skull anyways. So once I work through all the cracks, then I'll just take and I'm just going to brush it on thick on the outside. That's the most important part. The bottom you don't have to worry about so much, but you are going to see it from the side and angles wherever it's hanging. So, and this is an art. Just glob it on there and work it around. Try to work all the seams, the squiggly lines where the bones meet. Try to work those first. Try to work as much in there as possible. Otherwise, if you just kind of skim over, they might stand out. They might not bleach as good. So try to work into those areas. Alright guys, well, I put it on there nice and thick, brushed in every crack and crevice I could find, worked it around as much as possible. You want to just get as much on there as possible. You're going to wash it off in the end. It's not going to make it any harder to clean up. So then I took the saran wrap, wrapped it around there nice and tight. That's going to keep it from drying out as fast. It's going to let it bleach longer. Once it dries out, it loses its potency. So we'll let it sit till tomorrow afternoon. I'll take a sprayer and spray and work as much of this dust off as possible. It usually cleans up pretty easy. So, but yeah, we'll check it out tomorrow afternoon. If I have to put a second coat on, I have to put a second coat on. I got plenty of stuff in the 2 bottles that I picked up. I could either probably do another whitetail or put another coat on this thing. So stay tuned tomorrow afternoon. We'll peel the saran wrap off. Alright guys, 20 hours later. Skull's been sitting here soaked in this cream. Wrapped it in saran wrap. Let it sit here. Hopefully everything is bleached perfectly white, so I don't have to put a second coat on. But we're going to peel off the saran wrap and see how it turned out. It probably could use a second coat. in a couple areas, but I'm just going for that nice, clean, fresh bone look, so this is going to be perfect. I'm going to clean up the teeth a little bit. There's some chunks, and other than that, it's ready to go on the wall. I did this all myself. You didn't have to bring it to a taxidermist, you didn't have to bring it anywhere, so